Hey guys, today I want to talk about something called rhetorical listening and how we'll be practicing this in Project 2. So what is rhetorical listening? I know it sounds kind of big and scary, but it's really not. It is an advanced theory developed by someone named Krista Ratcliffe. It's a whole book. You can look into it if you want, but the gist of it is that rhetorical listening is about listening to understand. Right? It's about having a conversation with someone and suspending your judgment long enough to understand where they're coming from, right? Kind of a common phrase is put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's really what we're trying to do here is not only understand what the person is saying, but why they're saying it. What experiences and other beliefs do they have that's shaping this belief that you happen to disagree with, right? And rhetorical listening, or listening to understand, does a couple things. For one, it just makes us better people. All right. If you go into a conversation intending to beat the other person, that's not authentic, right? But if you go into a conversation trying to understand and reach common ground, you'll become a better communicator and a better person, right? A lot of students, after they take this class, they'll actually say, after learning about rhetorical listening, I have better conversations with my parents or maybe my friends that I don't always agree with because I'm able to understand them before jumping to conclusions, right? And so the other thing that's really important is that this makes us better communicators and better writers, right? If you understand your audience's perspective first, you'll be able to find ways to explain your perspective in a way that will actually be effective, okay? So students often get confused and think that they're trying to actually switch their perspective to agree with their audience, but that's not true, okay? I want you to be firm in your beliefs. I just want you to understand other people's beliefs and the fact that those are often valid as well, all right? And so you're not trying to change your mind, but you're also not just trying to change the other person's mind. This isn't a manipulation tactic, right? Students sometimes think, oh, well, if I can get inside their head and say things that they agree with, then they'll end up agreeing with me. And that may be true, but that's never the goal, right? The goal is not to win an argument. The goal is to reach common agreements, right? To solve problems through mutual understanding, right? And that's exactly what our composition classes here at OU are built on, right? We use what's called delayed argumentation. So you'll notice in this class, you don't write an argumentative essay. You actually don't even do that until your third paper in Comp 2, right? So we're really big on making sure that you spend a semester and a half listening before you actually get to share your perspective and try to convince somebody to agree with you. That's how important this is. Okay, so in Project 2, what we'll be doing is listening to understand someone that you disagree with. All right, so you'll be picking a text, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means, and you'll use textual analysis to kind of understand and summarize the points the author is making. And then you'll take that analysis and add some background research about the author's maybe life and childhood, or maybe the other things that they are involved in. And the point of this paper that you're trying to sort of build up to is telling me about the author's worldview. And honestly, a lot of times students get to the end of this project and realize that they actually have a similar worldview to the author. They just happen to disagree on certain points, and that's okay, all right? In this paper, you will not provide any of your opinions. I don't want to hear it, all right? You'll get to that in Comp 2 P3. All right, you are just summarizing and reporting, okay? But you're also not trying to argue in favor of the author's argument, all right? If you do find that you agree with some of their points, that's great. That's the mature way to approach this project, but it's not a requirement. So when you get ready to pick a text, all right, you need to think about something that's based on opinion and not fact. All right, I know that's kind of a weird concept for like college research. but basically you want something that's an opinion you disagree with. If you're presenting facts that you disagree with, that's maybe kind of kind of problematic. But basically we're looking for something like a blog post or an op-ed piece from a newspaper that you can look at and disagree with without disagreeing with facts, because that's not really what we're going for here, right? Something like a blog post is good, maybe a social media post if it's long enough. You could even do something kind of wacky if you are more of a multimodal person. You could do maybe a video or even a podcast. The thing with that is you'll end up having to do some transcription just to type it into your paper. So it would be a little more work, but it would also be really fun and different. So if you're interested in that, let me know. You will not use something informative like a library database article, okay? You also won't use something, sometimes students will find like pro-con articles about a topic. That's no good because it literally presents both sides of the argument, and we just want the side that you disagree with, okay? So I will post a resource from the OU library. It's called CQ Researcher, and it's something that presents different topics and kind of gives both sides of the issue. That's good for picking a topic, but you don't want to pick an actual text from that because, again, it's more research oriented and not as opinion oriented, right? But you also don't have to pick something that's political, right? You don't have to pick abortion or gun rights, okay? A lot of times students pick something like sports. Last semester, I had students who chose to write about paying college athletes, and that was a really great topic. So something like that that's fun and maybe not as depressing can be good for this paper. Okay, so when you're thinking about a text for this project, it should be something with one clear author. So sometimes students want to use an article from an organization website, and that's not great because you're trying to understand the author's perspective, not an entire organization's perspective, right? So try to find something written by one person. I already kind of went over some of the options for what a text could be, but if you have other ideas, please let me know. I'm open to it, right? You'll find your text probably just honestly on Google or maybe social media. You're not going to find it on the library website. And it should be something current. So something written or produced in the last 5 years is kind of ideal. Otherwise, it's just not really relevant anymore, okay? And then the actual how of rhetorical listening is something we'll cover when we get to textual analysis next week. But for now, just look for a piece with a main point that you disagree with. For example, if I were in this class, I would probably use a piece from Thought Catalog called Why We Need to Stop Shaming People for Buying Their Dogs Instead of Adopting, right? And I think it's really, really important to mention that Thought Catalog, something kind of popular and blog-like, is great for this project. That's what we're looking for. That's not good for any other paper you write, basically. Please, please, please don't use Thought Catalog articles in your history papers or your psychology papers. Your professors will send me angry emails and ask why I'm teaching you bad research habits, and I really just don't need that in my life. So for this project, something like Thought Catalog or even maybe like a Facebook post is fine. Don't use those in your other papers. All right, if you've got questions about picking a text for project 2, shoot me an email or message me on Slack.